To the regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. Any citizen who is wishing to participate in the public session portion of the meeting may do so remotely by calling 336-422-1200. That number again is 336-422-1200. And you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. And any member of the audience wishing to speak at the open communication session, all you need to do is fill out a little card, which is just outside the front entrance on a little table. And even if you could do that right now, if you wanted to. So if you said, oh, I missed that, and you can just hand it to our clerk at the end of the dais. We'll begin our meeting with an invocation today from Reverend Fred Terry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner McDaniel. Welcome, Reverend Terry, who, by the way, is a retired councilman from the city of Winston-Salem. Always glad to see you.
Chairman Martin, commissioners, staff, and most importantly, the citizens of Forsyth County.
Let me ask everyone to stand if they're able before you start.
In this time of conflict, let us considerably gather together here today with an attitude of responsibility to serve our community with integrity, fairness, compassion, and civility. May we approach our discussions with open minds, listen with respect, and speak with honesty. Let wisdom guide our decisions, and may our actions reflect the trust placed in us by those we represent. Together, let us work for the common good and the betterment of all. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is a public hearing on the zoning petition of Pofftown Baptist Church from residential 20 RS20 to IP zoning docket F1668. And Chris Murphy, our Planning and Development Services Director, is going to give us a brief overview.
Good afternoon, Chair and Board of County Commissioners. Yes, this is case F1668. It's a petition of Pofftown Baptist Church to rezone 5.2 acres of property located on the west side of Transue Road, southwest of Bethania Road and Renolda Road of that intersection from general use from RS9 to general use IP. This is a subject property shown on the Forward 2045 Growth Management Area Plan map. It is on the border of GMA5 and GMA3, located within the GMA3 Growth Management Area. This is the subject property shown, highlighted in yellow. Again, it sits on the west side of Transue, between Transue and the western leg of the Beltway right-of-way. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. This is an existing church site. It has 3 buildings, parking, and some undisturbed tree area. And again, you see the faint outline of the Beltway right-of-way just to the west of the church campus. This is the subject property shown on the West Suburban Area Plan Update, which is the adopted area plan for the area. It recognizes the IP portion of the property that's currently being used for the church and recommends that as IP. It also has a piece of property that the church owns. I'm not sure if they owned that at the time that the area plan was completed, but they do own it now. It is recommended for single-family residential, but of course institutional uses are allowed and encouraged in near residential settings. So staff finds that the request to rezone this property from RS9 to IP is consistent with the area plan. This is looking into an image looking into the subject property. You see the 3 buildings of the church there. That's looking at the property from Transue. This is looking on across Transue. The subject property is in the behind this vantage point. So this is looking across Transue Road. This is looking north along Transue. You see the zoning sign there. The subject property is to the right. And this is looking south along Transue. The subject property is to the right. On the previous image, the subject property is to the left. This is the subject property is to the right in this image. In summary, this request is consistent with the recommendations of the West Suburban Area Plan Update and Forward 2045. There are no anticipated traffic impacts associated with this request. The proposed district is compatible with the existing institution and the surrounding residential land use pattern. This was heard by the Planning Board at their March 12th, 2026 public hearing. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did recommend unanimously to recommend approval of this request. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Thank you. This is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request and up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the petition? Declare the public hearing closed. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve zoning map amendment F 1668 and statement of consistency with comprehensive plan. I move that the zoning map amendment F 1668 be approved on the basis of the following. The proposed general use zoning map amendment as petitioned by Pofftown Baptist Church to rezone a 5.82 acre piece of property from RS20 residential single family, minimum 20,000 square foot lots to IP institutional and public is consistent with the recommendations of the Forward 2045 comprehensive plan and reasonable or in the public interest because, number one, the subject property consisting of a church and undeveloped land is located at 4336 Transue Road, is currently zoned RS20 and is adjacent to property zoned AG, RS20, and RS9, with uses consisting of single-family homes, undeveloped land, and the NCDOT right-of-way for the western section of the Northern Beltway. Number two, the proposed IP zoning is intended to accommodate public and institutional uses which have limited land use impact and traffic generation, concentrated service areas, and which are located in or near residential areas. Number three, the subject property is located in Growth Management Area 3. It is adjacent to and near residential development, and it has access to public water, but not sewer. And number four, the proposed IP zoning is consistent with the Western Suburban Area Plan Update, which recommends institutional and single-family residential use for this site. It is consistent with the Forward 2045 comprehensive plan, which encourages neighborhood-serving uses such as churches near residential areas, and it is compatible with proximate zoning and surrounding uses.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing on an ordinance amendment proposed by Planning and Development Services to modify Chapter 8 of the Unified Development Ordinance to remove Section 8.4.6B, graded slopes, mechanically stabilized slopes, and fills. It is in the Unified Development Ordinance, CC 32. Chris Murphy, our Planning Services Director, is going to give us a brief summary.
Good afternoon again. Yes, this is a request to modify Chapter 8 of the UDO to remove Section 8.4.6B, graded slopes, mechanically stabilized slopes and fills, more commonly known as retaining walls, from the UDO. Planning and Development Services staff received a request from the Assistant City Manager for Public Works to review the current approval process for retaining walls. Current regulations allow walls or wall sections up to 10 feet in height to be approved by erosion control staff, but any walls higher than that must go through an alternative compliance process. And within the city, that goes to the Assistant City Manager for Public Works. And in unincorporated Forsyth County, this review goes to the Planning Board. Although the requirements for mechanically stabilized slopes are contained in the UDO, planning staff is not responsible for their review or approval. In Winston-Salem, retaining walls are reviewed by engineering and erosion control staff. In unincorporated Forsyth County, NCDOT review retaining walls that are adjacent to or within state rights-of-way. Erosion control staff review retaining walls outside of the state right-of-way, and city county utilities review retaining walls in or adjacent to their assets and easements. Most of Winston-Salem's peer communities do not include height limits or other technical details related to retaining walls and stabilized slopes in their development ordinances. Staff believes that our standards for retaining walls should not include specific height limits, but should instead allow project engineers flexibility based on project specifics. Public Works staff, including erosion control and utility staff, will be developing new infrastructure development standard regulations for retaining walls based on this direction. And the IDS is reviewed and used for review by erosion control and utilities, both of which are city-county functions. So even though it lives in the city engineering world as far as infrastructure development standards, this is already part of our review process. Whenever someone submits a plan, those city-county departments are part of that review and would be utilizing these IDS standards. Mechanically stabilized slope guidelines would be moved from the UDO to the IDS, which contain the technical specs for similar types of infrastructure. City county utilities, again, erosion control, use these whenever they're reviewing plans. Staff believes that the proposed changes provide a more streamlined process in which design elements will be reviewed by an interdepartmental team of public works staff with engineering and technical expertise. And NCDOT would be responsible for reviewing and approving any walls necessary within or adjacent to their right-of-ways. The Planning Board did unanimously recommend approval at their January 8th, 2020 public hearing. This has been to City Council, and it was adopted by them on March 23rd of 2026. One other piece of information that I know came up at an earlier briefing on this is the fact that even though these walls, if there is a separate approval process where they go through the design process, but they actually have to submit plans and engineering specs to actually construct it, and a permit be issued, and the design engineer has to submit an as-built, basically certifying that they built it and construct it per those approved drawings, and that's handled through the inspections division. So there is a separate permitting process specifically for the walls. With that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? All right. Is there anyone, well, this is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request, up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the petition? I declare the public hearing closed, and do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the proposal.
I'm happy to second it. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I did have questions regarding possible safety implications during the previous briefings. They were answered to my satisfaction, and I don't anticipate any adverse impacts on safety of construction.
Good. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All righty. Next item on the agenda is also a public hearing on an ordinance amendment proposed by Planning and Development Services staff to modify Chapters 6 and 11 of the Unified Development Ordinances to add view corridors for off-premise ground signs along segments of US 158 and US 421. This is a Unified Development Ordinance CC 33. Chris is going to review this request.
I promise this is my last item. Again, this is UDO CC 33. It is a request from the Planning and Development Services staff to add 2 additional view corridors to the UDO, US 421 and 158, within unincorporated Forsyth County, and include an updated definition describing the national highway system. A little bit of background, the Highway Beautification Act of 1965 gives federal government the right to allow billboards on zoned or unzoned commercial and industrial areas along any road within the national highway system. But a companion to that also gives states and municipalities, units of local government, the ability to enact standards limiting where billboards can be placed. This is the National Highway System map for Forsyth County. Again, most of those are interstate type facilities, but there are some thoroughfare type facilities that aren't median divided at grade. 158 is one of those. 109, some other surface streets, such Highway 67, 311, et cetera. So those are the streets identified in the National Highway System. In unincorporated Forsyth County, billboards are presently allowed only on roads in the National Highway System in general use highway business zoning and all of the industrial zoning districts. However, some of the roads in the National Highway System are prohibited by local regulations since they have been locally designated as view corridors as permitted by the act I referenced earlier. This is a map of the existing view corridors. And all of the areas identified with the colors and the letter references are already in the UDO, and it describes what those different various sections are. Those are existing view corridors where billboards are prohibited. Keep that map in mind because I'm going to show you an update of that in a minute. This proposed UDO amendment resulted from a rezoning request for a billboard which was denied by the county commissioners in 2024. Staff reviewed the National Highway System map and the view corridor map and determined that US 421, 158, and NC 109 in unincorporated Forsyth County were not protected from the placement of billboards in the UDO. Staff began researching the inclusion of these roads within the view corridor. We brought that to the commissioners back earlier this year in a briefing session. NC 109 was subsequently removed from consideration by the county commissioners at that session, but we were instructed to move forward with both 158 and US 421. So that is the proposed view corridor map that's before you now. The two new sections of view corridor are identified in red. They are this area of view corridor M in between Louisville and the Winston-Salem boundaries. That area is in unincorporated Forsyth County. And then west of Louisville along 421 to the county line is also view corridor M. And then similarly, going to the northeast out of the city of Winston-Salem in between the city's jurisdiction and Walkertown's jurisdiction along 158. And then within the county's jurisdiction to the county line along 158, that's corridor P. The one along US 421 is an extension of corridor M. There presently are no billboards located on the proposed US 421 or the US 158 view corridor, so we're not making anything legally nonconforming. Under the downzoning provisions that we are currently operating under through the general statutes, we can't downzone a piece of property that already has the right to potentially do a billboard. We identified 3 parcels at the northeast intersection of 421 and Stires Ferry Road. So we have specifically exempted those 3 properties from this view corridor, and it's described in what you are actually adopting, how those are exempted. These are exempted under the NCGS 160D 601D Act that prohibits the downzoning of property without the owner consent. This UDO amendment will help preserve the attractive rural residential character along these sections of US 421 and 158, again, minus those 3 properties at that northeast corner of Stires Ferry and US 421. This was heard by the Planning Board at their March 12th, 2026 public hearing. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this request to the Board of County Commissioners. I will just leave you with this image. These are the 3 properties that are specifically exempted on that northeast corner of 421. And again, that's because they are currently zoned general use HB, and we cannot downzone them without their consent. So with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Chris, I will ask one. I hadn't thought of it till today. On 158 and Brinkley Road, at Myers Horse Farm, there is a statue of a big horse. And I know that's the difference between a horse and a billboard. But somebody could write something on that horse, so what would it stand for? Would it be affected?
That might be an illegal sign, but it wouldn't be an illegal billboard, because if it's a horse farm and it's a statue of a horse, and you argued if it was a sign, it would be an on-premise sign and not an off-premise. So this regulation in and of itself would not impact that sign.
Do you know where that is?
I do not.
Okay, well, if you are traveling on 158, you will see it. It's right in there.
Whenever I sit down, I'm sure I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to be sure. I've been around these attorneys so long that it makes me think of a lot of different things, and so I try to check on it. If I'd have thought of it earlier, I would ask you.
That's no problem.
With that, I would have moved for approval.
Got to have a public hearing.
Yes, just hold that thought, just quick. This is a public hearing. Speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request, up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? I declare the public hearing closed, and we're now ready for Commissioner Linville's motion.
What I've already said, is that not good enough? I will say some words.
I'm just double checking at the right time. I'll be happy to second that also. Is there any discussion?
I'll just apologize for the bad influence of Commissioners Wilson and myself on the deliberations of the board, and I support the motion.
I join in that resentment about horsing around with lawyers or anyone else. This is about no new billboards, sidestepping down zoning, so I support the proposal as well.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All righty, we are now ready. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation recognizing May 14th as Childhood Apraxia of Speech Awareness Day in Forsyth County. And I'd like to, Commissioner McDaniel is going to read the proclamation, and I'd like to invite, as soon as she's finished, Amber Longley to receive the proclamation, and she'll meet Commissioner McDaniel at the podium.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. This is a proclamation recognizing May 14, 2026 as the Childhood Apraxia of Speech Awareness Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas childhood apraxia of speech causes children to have extreme difficulty planning and producing the precise, highly refined, and specific series of movements of the tongue, lips, jaw, and platelet that are necessary for the production of proper speech. Whereas childhood apraxia of speech is among the most severe of speech and communication defects in children, and those with apraxia endure an incredible and lengthy struggle. Whereas without appropriate intervention, children with childhood apraxia of speech are at a high risk of secondary impacts in literacy and other related skills. And whereas with early intervention, appropriate therapy, and community support, most children in childhood with childhood apraxia of speech will learn to communicate with their own voices. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners recognizes May 14, 2026 as Childhood Apraxia of Speech Awareness Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina, and encourages citizens to work within their communities to increase awareness and understanding of childhood apraxia of speech. Proclaimed this 7th day of May 2026, providing I get a second.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Mrs. Longley, there she is. You guys can also accept it and turn around, and we'll have a picture.
Good job.
The next item on the agenda is a proclamation recognizing May 2026 as Huntington's Disease Awareness Month. And Brandy Dellenbeck from HD Reach is going to be here to receive the proclamation after Commissioner Bessie delivers it. And you guys can do the same thing, meet at the podium, we'll have a picture.
Proclamation recognizing May 2026 as Huntington's Disease Awareness Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas Huntington's disease is an inherited, progressively degenerative neurological disease that causes total physical and mental deterioration over a 10 to 20 year period. And whereas current models suggest that over 14,002 North Carolina citizens are currently diagnosed with Huntington's disease, and whereas children of Huntington's disease patients have a 50% chance to inherit the disease and continue to pass it on to future generations, and whereas stigma, genetic discrimination, and fear prevent many patients from seeking care, and whereas there has been great progress in medical research and treatment, although there is no cure for those suffering from Huntington's disease, and whereas since 2009, HD Reach has been working to improve the care and quality of life of those affected by Huntington's disease through care navigation, referrals to healthcare and financial planning resources, family support, education, community building, and anonymous genetic testing. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims May 2026 as Huntington's Disease Awareness Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina, proclaimed the 7th day of May 2026. I move approval.
Second that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I may.
And if we can, here we go. And you can turn around and have a picture too.
Yes, I would.
Oh, you can say a word too. Right there, it's perfect.
My name is Brandy Dellenbach, and I'm the care navigator for HD Reach. And these are some of the community members with me today, and we are more than honored to accept this proclamation. And I do have a community member that would like to say a little something about Huntington's disease.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Amy Patton, and I'm speaking on behalf of many North Carolina families who are one way or another connected through Huntington's disease, also known as HD. My connection is through my ex-husband and our children. My ex's mother had HD. Three of her 4 children inherited HD. And we currently do not know how many grandchildren have inherited the disease. When it was confirmed that my ex-husband had inherited HD at the young age of 30, we did not realize the ways that our lives would change. From the personal, behavioral changes, chorea, balance issues, loss of motor functions such as speaking and swallowing, and suicide attempts, to broader issues, job loss, inability to drive, near arrest, socially ostracized, loss of independence, and nursing homes that didn't want to accept patients younger than 65, we have been through a lot. HD Reach, a nonprofit organization dedicated to families affected by HD, has become more than a resource for my family. They have become an extension of my family. We attend their support groups, education day, fundraisers, play on their streaming platform Game Over HD, and participate in advocacy opportunities. HD Reach also provides genetic testing, fertility treatments, pairs volunteers with families in need, and the list goes on and on. They are full of information, but they are also our outlets and strength. They give families the opportunity to share their experiences, have a shoulder to cry on when it gets to be too much, and to not feel so alone in the world around a disease no one else seems to understand. My ex-husband passed away in September 2024. He was 48 years old. He donated his brain to science in the hopes of helping to find a cure. As for myself, I will continue to fight and hope, not only for my children, but for everyone else who is dealing with Huntington's. It is only through spreading awareness that we can garner the attention that we need for treatments and hopefully a cure. It's like that saying, you can't fix a problem without acknowledging it. Today, we are getting our acknowledgement. Thank you to each and every one of you for your proclamation and support. HD families all over North Carolina, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the official copy.
Next item on the agenda is a proclamation recognizing May 2026 as National Tennis Month. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and when it's over, Sean McFarland and Kimberly Bussey, President and Vice President of the Winston-Salem Tennis, are here to receive the proclamation and can make a couple of comments. Proclamation recognizing May 2026 as National Tennis Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas on May 21st, 1881, the USTA, originally known as the United States National Lawn Tennis Association, was founded in New York City, New York, to create rules and standards for the emerging game of lawn tennis. Whereas the USTA is the nonprofit national governing body for tennis in the United States and leads the promotion and growth of the sport at every level of play, from beginners to professionals at the U.S. Open. Whereas the USTA is the largest tennis organization in the world, with over 550,000 members from every corner of the country. Whereas Winston-Salem Tennis Incorporated is a local USTA community tennis association that is proud to promote and showcase the important health, social, and educational benefits of tennis and help make the sport available to everyone, regardless of age, environment, condition, or ability. Whereas the latest research by the Physical Activity Council shows that more than 25.7 million Americans play tennis in 2025, an unprecedented 46% increase in participation over 2019, and the highest number of players since the Physical Activity Council study began in 2007. Whereas by increasing the accessibility of tennis for citizens in Forsyth County of all ages and abilities, the USTA has contributed to making our community happier and healthier. Whereas USTA has declared the month of May as National Tennis Month to encourage players, organizations, facilities, retailers, tennis manufacturers, and more to promote local programs and activities at parks and facilities to showcase tennis and spread the word about the sport and its benefits, and to help players and non-players alike find courts and play opportunities in their communities. And whereas the Forsyth County Parks and Recreation Department maintains 6 clay courts and 4 cushion courts with programming and clinics at Tanglewood Park, 3 hard courts at Union Cross Park, and 3 hard courts at Walkertown Community Park. Now therefore be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners recognizes May 2026 as the National Tennis Month and hereby urges the citizens of Forsyth County to become aware of and support National Tennis Month at facilities across Forsyth County. Adopted this 7th day of May 2026. I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. You guys can come forward.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Very honored. Thank you very much.
It's good. We got to get somebody in front with
Yeah.
a big racket. You're going to see a couple
Yeah,
of
that's okay.
Is that a regulation?
We'll
Take a picture first?
We'll do that.
Yes.
All right.
That's the size I would.
That's right. Thank you so much, Chair Martin, Commissioners. We're really thrilled to be here today. I have on a different hat here today, obviously. I am Kimberly Bussigan, Vice President of Winston-Salem Tennis. This is Sean McFarland, President, and we have several other board members you saw here with us today. Our mission is to grow the game of tennis in the community. We do that through a few different ways. We offer adult league play throughout the community for all levels. I play all ages, which is great. We run a free youth tennis program, which has introduced this community youth to tennis for over 70 years. We're very happy to continue that program. We support and provide volunteers for Abilities Tennis, which is a program for folks with intellectual disabilities. We host that at least twice a year, every Saturday over at Taylor Tennis Center, and I'm very proud to volunteer for that program. It's just a joy. We've actually worked with our Human Resources Department here at the county to provide a tri-tennis program for beginning tennis folks for about 30 employees this past year, which has been a lot of fun. We volunteered to help get those folks on the court. A lot of the work that we do at Winston-Salem Tennis is with partners here in the area. So with our, you mentioned those beautiful courts at Tanglewood Park with the Pat's Tennis Aces, couldn't be here with us today, but that vendor is wonderful, Caroline Downs, who has run away already, but she's with Serve First Racket Sports. She manages the facilities out at Haynes Park. You probably noticed those courts are frequently full in the evenings. They do a great job. Harold Moore is here as well that just walked in. He's doing a lot of work with us right now, trying to bring some programming to Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools for PE and after-school programs, which we're kind of excited to see where that's going to lead. Alex Rucker is here too. He's with Taylor Tennis Center. They donate the courts for our Abilities Tennis program, and he's also the Executive Vice President of the Winston-Salem Open. This is an ATP Tour tournament that happens every August here in Forsyth County over at the Wake Forest University Tennis Center. It brings some of the world's top players to Forsyth County. If you haven't visited that tournament, and I highly recommend that you stop by this August. And as I'm mentioning Wake Forest Tennis Center, I have to say we're so proud in the month of May that the Wake Forest men's tennis team is currently playing in the NCAA tournament. As we speak, they will play, I think, University of Central Florida tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at the Wake Forest Tennis Facility. If anybody in the community can go support them, I think that would be great. And then finally, just to let the community know that Winston-Salem Tennis does have a few free programs going on in the month of May to try to get new folks playing or folks that are coming back to the game. And we hope that you'll visit the website wstennis.com to see where those programs and how you can get involved. And thank you all very much. We're thrilled to be here. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution recognizing May 2026 as Eligibility Specialist Appreciation Month. I'm Chantel Williams, Social Services Division Director. It will receive the resolution when we're finished. And Commissioner Woodbury will actually read, and she's at the podium to read the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Martin. This is the resolution recognizing May 2026 as Eligibility Specialist Appreciation Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas the month of May has been designated as Eligibility Specialist Appreciation Month to honor the dedicated hard work of Forsyth County employees who support the eligibility determination of residents to critical programs. Whereas eligibility specialists play a vital role in ensuring the well-being of Forsyth County residents by providing essential services such as Medicaid, food and nutrition, energy assistance, Work First, non-emergency Medicaid transportation, client services, and child care services. Whereas these dedicated professionals work tirelessly to assess eligibility, process applications, and connect individuals and families with critical resources that enhance their quality of life. Whereas eligibility specialists exhibit exceptional dedication, empathy, and professionalism in assisting residents facing financial hardship, medical needs, and other challenges. Whereas their commitment to public service directly contributes to the health, stability, and economic security of the community, helping to reduce poverty and promote self-sufficiency. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and honor honor the invaluable contributions of eligibility specialists whose efforts often go unrecognized despite their profound impact on individuals and families in Forsyth County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby declares the month of May 2026 to be Eligibility Specialist Appreciation Month in Forsyth County and commends this dedicated group of employees for embodying the We Care principles while creating positive contributions to the lives of Forsyth County residents, and encourages residents, community partners, and local organizations to join in expressing gratitude to eligibility specialists for their unwavering commitment to service and support, adopted this 7th day of May 2026.
Second that motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Folks, you can come up and, there we go. Don't be shy. Come on up and get a nice group, and we'll get a great picture.
Behind you. I'm gonna go right back. Okay.
You gonna say something?
Good afternoon. My name is Janelle Berkey. I'm the Division Director for Medicaid Services. I'm standing in for my peer today, Chantel Williams, who's not able to be here. On behalf of our department, I would like to sincerely thank the Board of County Commissioners for recognizing May as Eligibility Specialist Month and for presenting the resolution today. Our eligibility specialists, as our commissioner said, and our support staff play a vital role for serving the residents of our county each and every day. And the work they're doing it diligently to help individuals and families access essential services such as Medicaid and food and nutrition services, child care assistance, energy, rental assistance. Their work requires professionalism, compassion, patience, and a strong commitment to public service, and they are doing this each and every day. I'm extremely proud of this team and the dedication they demonstrate daily while assisting our community through challenging times, very challenging times, and often complex situations and complex policy. This recognition is meaningful because it highlights the important work they do behind the scenes to support the citizens of our county and our residents. I would also like to thank our county manager and our county leadership and the leadership right there within the department for their continued support of the department and the staff. It is truly an honor to accept the resolution today on behalf of all the eligibility specialists and the support staff of the department, and thank you.
Thank you. Mike, thank you for all you do.
Just one brief addition. I think we recognize that the work that y'all do is getting more complex, more difficult, and more important every day, it seems. So thank you for doing it.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a resolution recognizing May 2026, as Mental Health Awareness Month. And Michael Duncan is actually going to come up for Behavioral Health Services Director. It will receive the resolution, and Commissioner Wisenhunt will actually read it.
Resolution recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month in Forsyth County. Whereas nearly 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 adolescents in the United States live with a mental illness. Whereas only 1 out of the 2 people with a serious mental health condition seek treatment. Whereas stigma and a fear of discrimination continue to prevent many individuals from seeking the help and the support they deserve. Whereas research demonstrates that personal connection and understanding are among the most effective ways to reduce stigma. Whereas individuals experiencing mental health conditions can and do recover when provided with appropriate services, support, and opportunity within their communities. Whereas there's a strong connection between mental health and overall health and well-being. Whereas individuals with lived experience contribute meaningfully to their families, workplaces, and communities. Whereas good mental health is essential to the strength and resilience of our families, schools, workplace, and community. Whereas Forsyth County is committed to increasing public awareness and education to reduce stigma, promoting understanding and support, and creating an environment where people are comfortably seeking support. Now therefore be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognize May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Forsyth County and encourage all residents to increase awareness, support one another, and recognize that no one is alone. There's hope, help, and healing. This is adopted the 7th day of May 2026.
Second that motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Is someone here?
And Michael, there he is. We got other folks? Come right on up.
Chairman Martin, Commissioners, thank you very much for being here and for this wonderful opportunity to just spread a little bit more information. Appreciate everything that Commissioner Wissenhunt does and for setting in on the HHS board and for the advocacy that all of you provide. It's really important that the county understands that Forsyth County is very privileged in the way that we have great leadership with our commission and also our staff. And we thank you very much for your continued support and for also recognizing May as is today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution recognizing May 3rd through 9th as Professional Clerks Week. And we're going to recognize two people who are very special to this board, Ashley Matthews and Rosalind Covington. I'll see if Rosalind gets in here. And I believe Commissioner Linville.
Speaking around the corner.
Where? Oh, she's way over there. Come on up. And Commissioner Linville is going to read the resolution today and meet you guys at the podium.
Front so you can hear me. That's good. Whereas the office of the clerk to the Board of Commissioners, which includes the clerk and deputy clerk, is a time-honored and vital part of local government and is among the oldest among public servants. Whereas clerks provide the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. Whereas clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas clerks serve as the information center on functions of government and community. Whereas clerks continually serve to improve their services through the participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, international, professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the clerk to the Board of Commissioners. Now therefore be it resolved by the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes the week of May 3rd, 2026 through May 9, 2026 as Professional Clerks Week and further extends its appreciation to the Forsyth County Clerk and to the Board of Commissioners, Ms. Ashley Matthews, and Deputy Clerk, Ms. Rosalind Covington, for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Forsyth County, adopted this 7th day, May 2026. I move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I'm not even going to ask for opposition. Commissioner Linville, you go down and take a picture of that. We could all go down and take a picture if we wanted to. We could all go take a picture.
Yep.
Let's go.
There is a few more words that I'd like to say. Everybody here. Y'all come right here. I got a few more words. Don't have to have a A few weeks ago, I don't know how long it was, not so awful long, 3 or 4 weeks, received an email, and it was to all the Board of Commissioners, and it was someone from the State Clerks Association that finally had recognized the talents of our clerk and deputy clerk. I don't know what took them so long, but anyway, they acknowledged it. It was something that we have known for a long time. So there's much that could be said about these 2 young ladies, but not enough time to say all the good things about them. We'll say this, they're multi-talented, that's for sure. And they're good cooks. And good cooks, understatement. They're master chefs. I asked they make the best soft baked cookies that you've ever eaten. And I thought about calling Little Debbie Cake Company, cookie cakes, and telling them I had found something better than what Little Debbie makes, but I was afraid she'd cry, so I decided not to. So with that, these are very fine ladies that does really good job for the county, and the part that it said in there about neutrality and impartiality, they do that as good as I've ever seen. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution revising dates for the authorized display and discharge of firearms at Triad Park under limited circumstances and with the concurrence of Guilford County. We discussed this at some length in our briefing, just switching a couple of days for honorary ceremonies. I'd be happy to make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wisenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for the meeting of April 16th, 2026. Do we have a motion? So moved. Motion by Commissioner Bessie, Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 speaker cards.
All right.
The first speaker is Jenny Easter. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Jenny Easter, 5120 Paramount Road, Hofftown, North Carolina, 27040. Good afternoon. As you all know, I serve as president of the Forsyth County Association of Educators, our public school staff union in Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, which, as of last Tuesday, now officially represents more than half of our district employees. I'm sure you are aware that the Board of Ed has put forward $33 million above the county funding formula. And while that request is not everything, it does name some of what our schools, staff, and children need after what we've experienced. It is no secret that this has been one of the hardest years in our district. We've lost more than 1,000 staff members, and we have felt that loss in every school and every department. In response to that, FCAE members talked to thousands of workers across the district about their working conditions and our students' learning conditions. And more than 3,400 public school workers signed onto a petition calling for more staff, more support, and the resources our students need to be successful and thrive. When Dr. Phipps surveyed parents and community about budgetary needs, they named the same priorities as our workers. We have worked with faith leaders across the county, and they have told us they are hearing the same concerns from families in their congregations if these priorities are not funded next year. So while I may be the one standing here today to give you a heads up before the public budget hearing, this message is not just from FCAE. This is your community telling you what it needs. Yes, we know that this should be the state's responsibility, but the state has failed us, and the needs of our children and people did not disappear. If this county is serious about improving workforce development, public safety, economic growth, and upward mobility, then we need our local government to step in and help close the gap the state has left behind. We acknowledge this kind of investment likely means raising taxes. Obviously, no one gets excited about that. But you should know that what we are hearing from many families and workers is this: after the devastation of this school year, if additional investment helps stabilize classrooms and improve the experiences our children and people serving them have, then it is worth it. Our public school system should not be viewed as just another line item competing against everything else in the county budget. It should be the foundation everything else rests on. Because when our children and families do not receive the support they need early inside our school system, those challenges eventually show up elsewhere in this county, in emergency rooms, crisis systems, the juvenile justice system, and public safety responses. Please remember, prevention is almost always less expensive than a crisis response. Thank you.
The next speaker is Nancy Gold. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Gold. I live in the West Salem neighborhood at 909 Schuman Street. That's a little neighborhood that's located kind of between Old Salem and Peters Creek Parkway. We have been the home since of 2017 of the Twin City Harm Reduction Coalition. I think I got it right. And it's located in a very small church in the very middle of our very dense neighborhood where houses are like 20 feet from the street and stuff. And there've just been a lot of problems over the years as it's grown. And we're glad it's grown. It has nothing to do with not feeling like their services are not valued or needed. They are. And they are needed to the point that we need more. I think that's one of the points I'm trying to make. They have gone from the beginning of 500 individual participants to 2,048 participants. And that's just the participants. That's not the number of times that they have been, people are coming in and out. I think that's more like 5,000 or more. So the bottom line is, it's just gotten, I mean, it's gotten big. And with that, there have been problems that have happened in the neighborhood. There are letters that have been sent to, I know, the city council, I don't know if to you, that explain all these incidents that have occurred. And then, and so I'm hoping that, not even if it's not this budget year, that next budget year, you look very seriously of finding or grooming or helping other organizations, because we know there are others that are interested that can also do some of this harm reduction, and not just our one little neighborhood that probably, I think this thing serves multiple counties. So we're the only one in Forsyth County, I think, and then we're serving additional counties. My second point is, I encourage you as the county commissioners to learn about harm reduction and really all that entails. My mind, it was just people went in there and exchanged needles, dirty needles for clean needles, that you do not exchange. Each person can be given up to something like 300 clean needles, which is not bad, it's just a lot. But there's also lots of other paraphernalia and items that they hand out that I think you guys need to decide whether you think it's harm reduction. So I hope that you will look into this more seriously to make sure you know what you're backing. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Nancy Grafton. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Grafton. I also live in West Salem, not far from my friend Nancy Gold. My address is 623 South Poplar Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27101. Just briefly, I am a retired emergency room physician assistant, graduate of Wake Forest, also retired Stokes County medical examiner, years 2005 to 2010. I moved into the neighborhood June of 2024, unknowing that this particular needle exchange, again, I'm speaking directly about Twin City Harm Reduction Collective, not knowing that the collective was located in Green Street United Methodist Church, which is 2 blocks from my home. I have absolutely no opposition to harm reduction, none. I practiced my entire career at the peak of the opioid epidemic. One of my first supervising physicians, I'll leave her name unstated, not sure whether she's out of prison yet or not, for dealing opioids out of the clinic that I was working in. And I lost my position because I'm a physician assistant, and she went to jail and I went to another county. Fortunately, it was a God blessing. I loved the county and did well, as did my patients. What we have going on in the collective is something even I had no idea what was happening. I walked in my normal everyday today clothing, in which is blue jeans, a dirty sweatshirt, some hoodie. I had just picked up the trash at Granville Park, which is often littered with this drug paraphernalia that is given out of the harm reduction, to include needle syringes, cotton ball filters, tourniquets, heat burning cooking cups, condoms, cocaine kits, boofing kits. And I first thought that some of these cocaine snorting straws were actually Juicy Juice straws from children's drinks, but in fact they're not. They're distributed by the collective. I understand the need to have clean needles. I understand the need to have a clean straw. All of that is happening, but it's happening within this small community, and this community is really hurting. There were approximately 10 100 in the first year in 2017, and I'm taking all this out of memory. There are now currently 248 unique participants at this exchange that had 7,474 visits last year alone. And I know that everybody in front of me knows this information because you were given it in an email on April the 27th of 2026. And on May the 5th of 2026, the City Council was also given that information. And as of last night, Pat Harrigan, the senator in North Carolina legislature, was also given that same information. Please help us. Please help these individuals who are sick and are not getting referrals. 2 referrals last year, 2 the year before, 2 the year before, out of 2,048 unique participants. We need help. These individuals need our help. Please help us. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ruth Burkhall. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair Martin and Commissioners. My name is Ruth Cole Burkhall. I'm the Executive Director of City with Dwellings. We're at 502 North Broad Street in Winston-Salem. First, I want to thank you all, the board, the county staff, the Health and Human Services Board, and even the stakeholder committee for that thoughtful work that has gone into the opioid settlement process. It's encouraging to see a balanced approach, which is so important, that includes treatment, recovery support, harm reduction, prevention, and housing stability. City with Dwellings is grateful to be included in the recommended funding package for our Recovery Housing Stability Initiative. The project will provide rapid response financial assistance for individuals with a history of opioid use or opioid use disorder who are at imminent risk of losing their housing. The funds are used for things like rent arrears, utility payments, security deposits, and other short-term housing costs that prevent eviction and displacement. What we have learned through our work is that housing instability and substance use are deeply connected. When someone loses their housing, everything else becomes harder. Recovery, employment, physical and mental health, and family stability. And we've also learned that preventing that spiral often only costs about an average of $400 a family. So over the past 2 years alone, we've provided more than $120,000 in housing stabilization assistance that has actually helped more than 300 households avoid homelessness or unsafe housing situations. And at the same time, we received requests for assistance far beyond our available resources. So this funding is great because it will strengthen a prevention strategy that is already working. At City with Dwellings, we work very closely with healthcare systems, behavioral health providers, recovery organizations, first responders, landlords, faith communities, and other homeless service providers within the continuum of care. We are often serving as that connective tissue between systems that can otherwise feel really difficult to navigate during a crisis. We also recognize that prevention is about more than keeping someone housed for one more month. Preventing housing loss helps preserve employment, maintain family stability, reduce the economic and community impacts that often accompany homelessness, and particularly for those individuals that are vulnerable to substance use or relapse when things get unstable. So thank you again for your leadership and for investing opioid settlement resources in the practical community-based solutions that support recovery and strengthen our whole community. We appreciate it. Thank you.
The last speaker is Jean Jones. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name's Jean Jones. I live at 740 Tobaccoville Road, Rural Hall, North Carolina. Today I'm here to talk about the Forsyth Beekeepers Association. I wanted to start off by saying that North Carolina is home to the largest conglomeration of beekeepers associations in the country, And Forsyth County's chapter is the largest in North Carolina, so that's really saying something. And that is who has been locked out of the agricultural extension. The Forsyth County Beekeepers Association has been utilizing the extension since 1973. That's before even I was born. We're not asking for funding. We're not asking for resources. We're just asking for a room to hold our meetings in the new extension office and to continue that partnership that has existed for decades. And that's really exactly what the extension is here for. And we are the exact kind of organization that the extension exists to serve. I want to be clear about who we are and what we give back to the community. The Forsyth County Beekeepers Association provides bee removal services for the county. We offer free education to residents, schools, scouts, and the public. We are one of the most active agricultural organizations in the county, and we operate at no additional cost to taxpayers. The agricultural extension exists to serve the public. It's funded by public tax dollars, our tax dollars, and excluding the largest beekeeping chapter in the U.S. And in the state is a failure of that mission. We just need a place to meet during hours where our members are not working. We need space where we can store our educational materials and continue serving the community. And that's it. We're not asking for funding. We're not asking for special treatment. We're just asking for a place to meet. Thank you.
All righty. Madam County Manager, would you please continue with the remainder of the meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioners, staff, and guests. The agenda items before you have been briefed and hopefully questions answered. Agenda item number 13 is a resolution authorizing changes to the county's health and dental plans and county-paid basic life insurance for disability retirees. This authorizes 2 dental plan options and transitions from a self-insured to a fully insured plan for dental to help mitigate cost. It also includes 2 health plan options, the removal of GLP-1 coverage for weight loss only due to significant cost increases, and the discontinuation of life insurance for disability retirees, with current recipients grandfathered in as no other retirees receive this benefit. The change to GLP-1 coverage is projected to save approximately $4 million, which will help to minimize significant premium increases for both the county and employees. I do want to state I recognize that this is a very difficult recommendation. I have received feedback from about 5 employees regarding the benefits of GLP-1 medications, but the overall cost impact is not sustainable. Many peer organizations are facing similar challenges. Many do not provide this coverage, including the state health plan, and many are also exploring other cost mitigation strategies. We will work with employees to provide them with resources of how they can find these medications, hopefully at discount prices.
Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion?
I do have a question as it relates to the discontinuation of the medicine to help with weight loss, which generally has other issues associated with it that I think then the weight loss drug, actually supports the diabetic issue and some of the other issues. So when you say only for weight loss, it's kind of hard for me to understand. Are we dealing with diabetes or the weight loss that is connected to diabetes?
So we would continue to provide it for diabetes, and so they were able to parse out like claims costs for weight loss only, and then those that are using it because they are diabetic. And the cost for weight loss was about $4 million, and the cost for those that's using it for diabetes was about $1 million. We would continue to provide it for things outside of weight loss only.
Any other questions?
Yes, my support for this resolution is not simply based on financial considerations. I think what my colleague here said is certainly worthwhile. I know that smoking is no longer the #1 health care issue in this country. It's obesity and I recognize that as a significant problem. But as we got rid of cigarettes, now we have vaping. And my concern is with regard to these specific medications, Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound. These medications carry potential side effects. They're common. They're not often severe, but they can be. And I just have a real concern about that effect on the long-term population. And I'm not sure we're in a position yet really to judge the efficacy of those medications weighed against the potential risks that are involved. I know there are better educated people in this room in that specific subject matter. I know Mr. Duncan there, Director of HHS. I see Annie Vasquez back there. I know that Denise Price, our Deputy County Manager, is probably familiar with those risks as well. But this is not a medication that can be taken without any complications or side effects. And that's the reason I support this motion.
Any other discussion or questions?
I do have one last question about insurance coverage. Do we have the wellness coach access so that those whom are kind of having issues with weight loss, that there's a wellness coach, nutrition, and all that kind of stuff that comes along with it?
So we, as part of our wellness plan, we have wellness coaching for those that meet the criteria for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 14 is a resolution approving a revision to the fiscal year 25-26 Home and Community Care Block Grant County Funding Plan for older adults and authorizing execution of necessary documents to submit the revised plan for state approval. This authorizes senior services to decrease funds for adult daycare by $9,000, adult day health by $6,100, and in-home aid level 2 personal care by $36,000, and increase funding for home-delivered meals by $46,100, and in-home aid level 3 personal care by $5,000.
We have a motion. Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie. Is there a second? Happy to second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 15 is a resolution to direct fiscal year 27 expenditures of opioid settlement funds and an amendment to the North Carolina Opioid Settlement Special Revenue Fund to appropriate funds for fiscal year 27. Opioid settlement funds are designated to support prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts. 34 projects are being recommended for funding, totaling $4,672,810.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 16 is a resolution authorizing appropriation of behavioral health funds and execution of associated agreements in fiscal year 27. Behavioral health funds are allocated to expand access to mental health, substance use, and intellectual and developmental disability services. 20 projects are being recommended, totaling $2,262.
Do we have a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Bessie. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 17 is an amendment to the County Capital Projects Ordinance to appropriate funding received for the Triad Park Beautification Project. This is to appropriate $180,000 received from Transco for an easement in Triad Park.
Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 18 is a resolution approving a first revision to the fiscal year 26 Juvenile Crime Prevention Council funding plan and an amendment to the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance to appropriate $3,904 from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety for the Forsyth County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. JCPC received an additional $3,904 in discretionary funds from North Carolina Department of Public Safety, along with $15,000 in reverted funding from the YWCA Teen Court Program. Recommendation is to reallocate those funds. Triad Restorative Justice would receive an additional $10,540, and Family Services would receive an additional $8,364.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 19 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the agreement with NAFCare North Carolina LLC to increase the amounts allocated for off-site inmate medical services for fiscal years 26 and 27, and an amendment to the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance to appropriate fund balance to the Sheriff's Office for an increase to the NAFCare North Carolina LLC agreement for jail medical services. Due to the rising healthcare costs and increased average daily population at the detention center, off-site medical expenses have exceeded projections provided by the Sheriff's Office. As such, a contract amendment is needed to add $880,000 to fiscal year 26 and $660,000 to fiscal year 27, which increases NAFCARE's total contract to $27,732,344.55 through June 30th, 2027. This item also appropriates $880,000 of fund balance for this fiscal year to cover the additional cost.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion?
Just briefly, I'll note that I believe that the changes that we're approving here are in part necessitated by policy changes at both the federal and state levels that are increasing our costs.
I did appreciate, I'll just comment, I did appreciate the detailed review that we had on last Monday. And it does point out some other issues in terms of length of stay of basically our pre-adjudicated prisoners, which is a part of the growing number and all those issues. And clearly the healthiness, if you will, of our prison population is a concern, and that is very difficult to address. Hopefully, some of the programs we approved today actually may begin to, or hopefully begin to address some of that with citizens at large. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 20 is a resolution authorizing a third amendment to the agreement with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC for law enforcement detention center on-site food services, and an amendment to the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance to appropriate fund balance to the Sheriff's Office for an increase to the Aramark Correctional Services, LLC agreement for jail food services. Similarly, due to the increased average daily population at the detention center, food costs have increased for this fiscal year, and a contract amendment is necessary to increase the total contract by $140,000 to $5,933,631 for this fiscal year. And this item also appropriates $140,000 of fund balance to cover the additional cost.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 21 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of an agreement for debt and lease management software subscription. This is for a 3-year contract not to exceed a total amount of $72,000.
We have a motion.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 22 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of an agreement with Verinex Corporation to provide endpoint detection and response services to Forsyth County. This is necessary to maintain cybersecurity protection and operational continuity for the county's computer workstations. This is a 3-year contract not to exceed $419,352.67.
We have a motion. Move to approve. Motion to approve by Commissioner Linville. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 23 is a resolution authorizing execution of a lease agreement with Winston-Salem Forsyth County BMX Parents Association, Inc. for the lease of county-owned property located on a portion of Tanglewood Park. This is for leasing of 3.4 acres for bicycle track for a 3-year term at an annual rent of $2,800.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut,
Second.
second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 24 is a resolution authorizing quantum merit payment to Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods. This is to cover the cost of services for July and August 2025 for services rendered for the Cure Violence Program in an amount of $41,230.25 to be paid utilizing public health funds received from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 25 is a resolution accepting the highest offer to purchase county-owned real property by negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bids procedure at 3325 Silas Creek Parkway. This resolution accepts the last and highest offer to purchase the Amos Cottage property and authorizes the sale to Jim Cap Development, LLC, in the amount of $2,662,850. This amount is $637,850 higher than the original offer that was advertised for upset bids.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Cheerfully second that.
Cheerfully seconded by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 26 is a resolution authorizing the grant and execution of a temporary construction easement to VNC Land Company, LLC, across a portion of Forsyth County-owned real property. This would authorize a temporary construction easement across another portion of property located at 5580 Sturmer Park Circle in order to complete necessary grading and landscaping installations.
Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. I'll be happy to second that. Any discussion?
If I may, I inquired about possible adverse impact on trees from the construction easement, and it appears that in fact this would reduce the impact by substituting a retaining wall for some additional grading that would take out some of the adjoining trees.
Is there, what you're speaking of, is there a condition that states that the construction easement, that they put the property back as it was found?
Let me, if I may, ask for the staff to, that's a good question.
And is there, in the construction easement, is there any trees within the construction easement?
Chelsea.
Let me look at the map right quick. So to your first question about restoring it, if they damage it or don't leave it in a proper condition, yes, they would have to fix it if it was anything that we had not approved. But it won't be exactly the same because they are going to be adding some azaleas and some other landscaping, so it's not going to look exactly the same as when it started. But if they damaged it, then yes, they would restore that.
What about big trees?
I believe, I can say, so I do not believe there's a tree on their property that they will have to impact, but in the construction easement area, there is not any large trees. If they were not doing this, if they were not building the retaining wall, there are some trees that they would impact through grading, so this is to actually not impact those trees.
On the construction easement, if there, I don't know exactly how the topo is there, but if there is a slope, is the slope going to be on their property?
To be honest, I have not looked at the topo. I'm sorry.
Well, I would just, what I would say in regard to that is there be a condition that all of the slope be on their property and the slope start at the property line. And because if the slope is partly on the county property, then they're using part of the county property, if that's the case. The slope, the top of the slope needs, needs to be on the county property line, not over on it. That needs to be a condition in the, I think, because if it's not, then we're allowing them to encroach, and I don't think it needs to be. I've run into a personal problem like that, and someone had already done it, and I just, it wasn't a big enough situation. Well, it was to me, but I let it go. But this is not. It needs this. All I'm.
I guess,
Mr. Attorney, do you understand what I'm saying about if the topo of the land, if it's sloping, and there's got to be a slope in order to, unless they put if it's needed, a wall, if it's not very high. But all I'm saying is none of the slope needs to be on county property. And there needs to be a condition addressing that. Chris, can you help me any with that?
I can't help you on the particulars as far as, what you are wanting them to do. I can tell you that I don't think they're going to actually need the easement, much of an easement from you, if they can't put the slope onto the county-owned property, because otherwise they would just do a retaining wall on their property across the whole western line of their property. What they have shown is within the, Commissioner Bessie was correct, they do have a retaining wall approximately in the center of that western property line, which is designed to protect the existing vegetation on the county-owned property. But to the north of that retaining wall and to the south of that retaining wall, they are showing about 3 feet of slight grade that's coming onto the county property to tie into their proposed grade lines. And that's why they are requesting the easement, is to basically tie that in and not have to put the retaining wall in.
Is it, the best you can tell, the retaining wall is probably not very tall. I don't know that.
Is the retaining wall what? I'm sorry. I don't know. It does not have that on this particular drawing. I would assume probably 4 or 5 feet tall would be my guess, but I don't know that. There's not a top and a bottom height on that wall.
We can get that information from them if that's helpful.
Well,
good question.
On some of it, and let me be clear, your work is good, Ms. Swain. That's not what I'm worried about. Others is what I'm worried about. And Ms. Manager, I don't have it all right now, but I have a idea in mind how we can deal with some of these easement issues that comes, or matters that comes forth. So if where you're talking about, Chris, where Ms. Swain's talking about the tie-in, is it, Kirby, you want to help out too?
Yeah, I think this is my fault. Thank you. So let me just talk a little bit about what we were doing here. So if you're standing on Chatelain and you're looking at this property, so you're looking at animal control and all that stuff, or animal services in the back. So the fuel station, of course, will be on the corner. It slopes towards the corner of Chatelain and University there. We had asked the developer to make an easy transition between the two properties. And the reason is that we just thought to be aesthetically would be nicer. And so that's why they came in with plantings of azaleas and trees and bushes to make just kind of a nice transition between the county property, which is green space, into a fuel station. And so that was really a request that we had because we remembered some conversation from the board around wanting to keep some aesthetics of the green space there. So they don't have to have this easement. But if they don't have the easement, you're just going to have a retaining wall dividing the two properties. And we thought, that may not be what the board wants. If the board doesn't want to grant the easement, I think the development will continue. It just will have a harsher line between the two properties.
Well, in your view of it, what you're talking about, the tie-in on the properties would make it look better. Well, then part of that tie-in slope is going to be on county property.
It will be, yes, sir. Yeah, and that's because I think they felt like it was sort of our request to make that an easy transition so that grading work is more on our side. And so if we don't want to do that, we certainly don't have to. They'll put a retaining wall down their side of the property. I think it'll probably end up costing them more. So we kind of looked at it as a mutually beneficial solution here. And there'll still be a little retaining wall there, but for the most part on either side there won't be. So when you're driving down the road, you'll see azaleas and bushes and trees and not just a retaining wall.
Well, I'm going to take your word for it.
Well, there's a site plan, and I think planning,
There's going to be a condition on your word, though, Kirby.
Yeah.
And I'm confident in what you say. If it.
Well, Chelsea did a great job of getting the developer to give a specific plan that would show what they're going to do, even down to what they're going to plant and where they're going to plant it. So I think we're going to hold them to that. So if you're comfortable looking at that plan, that should be what it looks like at the end.
But if you think that's going to make a situation look better, I'll accept that. And if it turns out it don't, I'm going to have a sign made, this is Kirby's wall, slope, tie-in.
Thank you.
Kirby, I'm not going to take your word for it, but
I'm fine with that.
The contract drafted by our county attorney does provide at least that maintenance, repair, and replacement have to be provided by the grantee, the contractor.
General Services does a great job with these, a lot of experience in ministry and that stuff. And so I feel confident that they will make sure that happens.
I'm willing to take that risk despite your endorsement. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 27 is a resolution authorizing the grant and execution of an easement to RSPD Riverwalk LLC across a portion of Forsyth County-owned real property. RSPD Riverwalk LLC is requesting an easement across a portion of county-owned real property located at 0 Tanglewood Park Road to construct a brick wall. This property is currently operated as Tanglewood Park. The brick wall is a requirement of the approved rezoning associated with the development on a neighboring property. However, the location of an existing sewer line necessitates an easement request to the county to avoid interference with the sewer line. There were some questions about the compensation on Monday. They did increase their offer since Monday. The previous offer was $16,012.48, and the updated offer, which is in your packet today, is $23,969, which staff considers to be a fair offer.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to the matter. Just so this is for Ms. Swain, but others probably thinks it too, that I might be a little bit ornery, but I got a good excuse for it. I got some extra days on me. That's what's causing it. Extra days means you put them extra days together and they count up to years. So, I guess I go over a little bit of history here, and I'll try not to get in too much detail. I had tried to remember the total acres of the property in question, and I mean the total development. I couldn't remember it exactly. I knew it was, I thought it was over 200, and it is. I couldn't remember exactly, so I had to wait till Chris come in, and well, Miss Swain would have known that too. If I'd asked her, I might have overlooked it. It's 300 acres in it. So out of the 300 acres, somewhere around 250 of it, if I make a error, Chris, you can correct me, is about 250 of the 300 can be developed. About 50 of it is in floodplain, but the ordinance allows for to take that 50 acres of density and move it up to the, and add it on to the 250, which allows for more density within the 250. The park, as they've mentioned before, is right at 1,180 acres. And Mr. Reynolds, Will Reynolds, I believe, is that right? Is the one that was his property. Don't know when he acquired that. Long time back. County's owned it for approximately 45 years. And it don't seem like, from the information that I got or have, that the property line has been moved or tampered with. In some places, the old fence line, which most likely was on the property line at the time. The sewer line that's there, I don't know exactly how long that's been in place. Kyle, to you, I'm going to say approximately 8 to 10 years. I don't know how long it's been.
I think it's been about 4 or 5 years.
Well, the point is, it was known it was there. The property line, it was known that that was there. Whether, I guess, the property or the new owners surveyed it at some time. If they didn't, well, I'm sure they have by now, but if they didn't, then they missed some due diligence, and that's not our responsibility. With the 250 acres they got, they, if they've got their plans drawn up, then so be it. There's nothing we did. There's no fault of the county. And we don't need to start easement, permanent easements off of particular parkland property in Tanglewood Park, 1,180 acres. Do you know of it, Chris, do you know of another parcel of land anywhere in Forsyth County is that big?
Which one?
Huh?
Bigger than the 1,000?
Bigger than this one.
You talking about the property for development or Tanglewood Park?
Tanglewood Park.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. If I make a mistake, Chris, you can correct me too. I'm open for corrections, not changing my mind. So with that, and if anybody wants to, the sewer line, it is known that those kind of transfer lines has easements, and it's in 30 feet. And I'm assuming that the pipe in itself is within the center of that 30 feet, pretty close to it. If I'm wrong on any of it, somebody tell me. So some of that easement would appear to be on the county. I'm not exactly sure, but that's beside the point. County hadn't done anything wrong. They got 250 acres to work with, and I think that we do not need to start taking pieces off of parkland. This is one time I kind of wished that there was those federal regulations on it like it is up there at
Sowers.
Up on the, yeah.
Bill Sowers property.
Did. That's why that kind of stuff, I believe, is on there, because they know somewhere somebody is going to be wanting to change something. I have found that whenever there's forces out there everywhere, whenever somebody comes up to government agencies, not any government agency, and they see a wall or something kind of holding back, they're going to try to find a way to get through it, around it, or something by alternate. And with that, I'm going to move that we reject this offer. And if, I'll just leave it at that for the time being.
We have a motion to reject the Tanglewood construction easement.
And just plain, not to try to get more money, just plain reject it at all. Not trying to negotiate with them, just to let them, I guess it's proper to reject the offer, but I'm not suggesting that we negotiate with them. The money's what I'm not looking for it in this. I'm just looking at protecting the property.
So we have a motion to basically cancel the easement. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion. This is a development that has yet to get off the ground. I know it was approved several years ago, at least 3 years ago, as I recall it, a 500-unit development in an area that has no legitimate access and for which access can really not be provided. So I just think this is throwing more bad into the pot, and so I'm just not comfortable with the motion. I'm comfortable with his motion, but not for this amendment to allow further construction out there.
Open for discussion.
Chris, this retract, we specified that they build it.
Right.
Do you think it'll be detrimental in any way?
Where this is going is right up against hole number 14 of the championship golf course at Tanglewood. Sorry. Where this fence or where this proposed brick wall is going is basically along the edge of hole number 14 on the championship course at Tanglewood. It's a very narrow section from the edge of our property line. It's a narrow section of woods. And then there's the fairway. So it's fairly open to any development that the developer's going to do on their side. So we're trying to get that, make sure that that golf hole there was protected in some way. So,
and that was the reason for the wall, was to provide the separation between the golf course and with a very narrow area and the development. So, and we requested that and required it,
that's my knowledge.
which is, if my memory's right, it's in the 2,500 feet long of construction. It's a fairly long wall that we're talking about here.
If, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'll read the actual, the language is basically under other requirements. It says security fencing, buffering, and spacing between the subject property and the county-owned Tanglewood Park shall be in substantial conformity with the attached exhibits entitled 2022-07-29 Perimeter Treatment Overall Areas A, B, and C, and the 2022-08-01 Perimeter Cross Sections. I don't have those here, but that was part of the discussions that were had between planning staff, Parks and Rec staff, the developer, and I believe a couple of county commissioners whenever this was being considered, to try to, again, allay concerns about the impact, the visual impact of this development to Tanglewood in and of itself. The issue that we had when we did that was we knew there was the easement there, and since we were showing the showing the wall on the edge of the easement, we didn't think it would be an issue. But whenever it came time for them to actually work with utilities said you cannot put anything within the easement, even if it's on the edge of it, which then necessitated them trying to move it a foot or two out of that easement, which is now why they're before you asking for the construction easement and permanent easement for the wall. The other thing I do want to say is, yes, while the development has not yet installed final infrastructure and has not begun actually construction of the home. The entire site has been graded, and the rough grading for all of, I won't say all, probably 75% of the streets has already been completed. And I'm looking at the March of 2026 aerial photos, which show the majority of the layout of the streets has already been installed. So while no development has actually taken place as far as vertical construction of homes, a lot of infrastructure, grading, and utilities work has gone into this project over the last 18 months.
Could you describe the distance? I'm picturing the easement and moving it onto our side. I mean, how many feet are we talking about? It's right at it, right?
Yeah, I want to say on the exhibit that is part of your packet, it shows if you look at the diagram, it actually shows the wall. Again, it doesn't have a dimension. It has a temporary construction easement and has a permanent wall easement, but the wall in and of itself appears to be probably a foot to a foot and a half onto the county-owned Tanglewood Park property. So literally, it's just moving outside of that easement.
And the option of going in the opposite direction and being on the easement on their property, if you will, I'm assuming that is not, I don't know how many feet we're talking about moving from the center line of the sewer easement onto their property to get to the edge.
It would be, the easement in and of itself is 30 feet. And then the issue with that is that what pulls through that section as far as the site plan is a road. So I think that might actually move the wall either into the right of way or directly coterminous with the easement and the right of way. So it's going to put it on the street as opposed to, and again, then you would have 30 feet of area that would be behind the wall as far as being, maintenance and those kind of things, which would probably end up, that's a utility easement. So utilities only mows those once every few years. So then you're going to have something on the backside facing Tanglewood Park that probably would end up being either unsightly or county park staff would probably, if they wanted to not have an unsightly mess, might have to actually mow that.
Well, is it stated in there? I don't recall that the county agreed that, I remember the discussion of the wall, not all the specifics, but the county did not agree for it to be put on the county property.
That's correct. And again, but that was part of, whenever this was envisioned and it was laid out, it was shown on, if this is the 30-foot easement and this is the Tanglewood property, it was shown literally being coterminous on top of the edge of that 30-foot easement. And utility says you have to be a foot or two off of that easement. You can't put anything within or on top of the easement. So, but you are correct. That was not part of the discussion whenever this came through 3+ years ago.
Well, the county should not have any responsibility of the wall in any way. Maintenance, whether undergrowth or vines or whatever is growing over it, the county just don't have any responsibility for it, period. That's it.
Chris, do you mind, I'm a visual person, do you mind showing that on the easel, please?
I'm sorry, showing what?
What, the area?
The easement, maybe.
Yeah.
What
it looks
on our
like, if
attachment,
you
there
can-
is a sort of a blow-up of that on the
got
attachment
it.
for this. It kind of shows,
Yeah, but what area?
well, it shows both where it is on the site. Here's where the wall is. And then it shows a blow-up of the wall itself, and it shows where the sewer easement is.
Trying to get this slate.
Sorry.
Yeah.
While I'm messing around. The
I have two sheets. I don't know.
easement in and of itself is this RS-15S line.
And then it's
In this
tiny.
location here, and then I got a big fat finger here, and then along, this is the hole itself, this is hole 14, and it's along that whole line. So
But I believe where they're actually requesting the easement is just where the force main is, which is along where you see the label RS15S on the drawing in front of you.
Yes.
On the overhead screen, it's that line there that goes from west to east. So from the RS15S, the edge of that S, to
Is it,
where that line then turns back down south. I believe what's shown on that plan as that black line at the edge of the eastern side of that map, the eastern side of hole 14, is the actual existing easement.
as it is it appears that all of the sewer line, transmission line, is all of the 30 feet
Thank you.
is on the development land property.
Correct.
Well, I don't know what else you can say. It's crystal clear to me, but the utilities division is the one that I guess laid it out, and either the property owner before it was sold either signed an easement, or either they they just would have took it, the utilities. It's one or the other. I don't know which they did.
It's my understanding that they did not know that all found out after it was over by the utility commission. They do this, not us and not the property owners. They've already started work out there. They have spent a huge amount of money on their. I think it would be horrible for us to now back out of a deal that they didn't know was going to occur.
Well, the property has been, I think, changed hands twice since the original person or development company bought it. They the ones that, they knew about the wall, or either their person that was representing part of that was in here, Greg something, I can't remember his last name. But I think then when it was sold, it's been sold, is it on about the third owner now from the original owner?
Whenever Greg Garrett and Braxton Development sold it, it's been transferred a couple times, but by the same entity. So whenever you go back and look at the deeds that are available online, you can't go back and look at the original transfer from Greg Garrett to R.S. Parker Homes. So it hasn't been sold, I don't believe, multiple times. It's just been there's several deeds that have been recorded. So we can't really easily trace beyond what I can see on the deeds.
I have to say that based on description and discussion, I don't see anything advantageous to the park to have a retaining wall at this place on park property. I'll support the motion.
Wait a second. You're saying you don't see any advantage to having the wall?
I don't see necessarily an advantage to having the retaining wall, and I don't see any advantage to the county in ceding additional intrusion into the Tanglewood property in order to have that retaining wall.
It's not a retaining wall. It is a screening wall. It's just a brick wall. It's not a retaining. It's 6 foot brick on both sides. I just want to make sure that we understand that we're talking about our decorative wall that essentially is going to screen the park from the development.
Do you want to watch the golfers, and do the golfers want to look into somebody's backyard? I guess that's kind of the question. It is literally a screening wall, and the only issue is it's being moved, it looks like about a foot. It's being moved slightly off of the easement because it was partially on it. And it is nothing but we asked for it from the park standpoint, because it's very close to hole 14, to be there to keep both ways visible, to be blocked. It's a vision screen, is what it is. It is not retaining anything. It is a vision wall, is what it is. We asked for it and went through a whole lot of discussion about that. The issue is simply about a 1 foot, it's moved a foot, and it's adjusted it, and there's an offer of $23,000 or $4,000 to compensate for that additional foot. I have absolutely no problem and think we would be disappointed if it were not there. And I think if we don't want to see inside the Riverwalk, and the Riverwalk folks don't want to be looking at the golf either. I think it's a win-win on that part.
Mr. Chairman, from my interpretation of it, and Ms. Swain, it clearly says in this paperwork here that there is a 10-foot permanent easement, 10 foot, and a 5-foot construction easement, and that's all on the county side.
But there had to have been an easement of 10 feet where the original wall was placed. That had to exist. There was already had to be something there, because the wall itself, it appears, has not moved more than a couple of feet. I mean, the drawing, this is not, you can't see the scale on the blow-up. You can see the scale on the other part, but there had to be some easement prior to the easement, unless the easement for the construction of the wall was on the utility easement, which it could have been. But I mean, you all are a lot closer to it. I've understood the big picture, and I think we'd be disappointed not to have it.
The county never gave, nor gifted, nor sold any easement to begin with. They're just requesting this. This is a slight bit complicated. Maybe it's more for me than it is others, but what I would do is, Mr. Bessie, did you second the motion or not?
We had a second by Commissioner Wilson.
Commissioner Wilson second.
He's just in discussion commenting that he doesn't think we need a wall at all. And I think we need, and I'm countering that, but I think we very much need a wall there.
If this is simply a visual screen, it's easy to do that with plantings. You don't have to put an additional wall up on park property.
Well, I agree that, I heard the discussion. The wall is some benefit to the park, because if you have plantings, but the development is what's creating this. The county hadn't caused any problem, and if it had not been for this big sewer line right there, they couldn't do the development anyway, not to this density. So,
but as I understand your concern, Commissioner Linville, it's that you think that the wall ought to go on the
needs to be on their
development
property.
side
We
of the
do
property.
not need to sell. And if the money that they're talking about for something like this is not even in the ballpark anyway, I would have a no sale price on it. And everybody knows what a no sale price is. You price it so high, nobody's not going to pay it. We just don't need to be fixing everybody else's difficulties. We wouldn't have cause of any of it.
But we asked for this to be included in the sale, which, by the way, is a costly item for the developer.
I understand it costs them,
but we asked, we are the ones that did the asking.
Well, they asked for they brought in a special use zoning request, and when you do that, that's not the first time that's ever happened. Conversation has been here asking developers to do things, and most all of you know that this one had a pretty fair amount of opposition to it because of
Well, I remember it well, yes.
I do too.
Remember that well, but it had, the opposition and the discussion was not surrounding this wall. And in fact, for us, it was a condition of approval to put it in here. I mean, that was a condition of approval. I realize that the error, if there's an error here, was that there was a belief that the wall could be constructed partially on the sewer easement. And the Utilities Commission has said, no, you can't use anything on the sewer easement, and it's being moved. I mean, Chris, you probably know, I mean, what is the, I mean, I think that, I can't tell from the map, are we talking a foot or 3 feet or less than that? It looks like a very, here it looks like it's right on top of it, it's just moved outside the line.
From my review of what you're looking at your seats there, it's a foot to 2 foot. Yeah. I've seen 1.5 to 2.
It's getting off of the easement and putting the wall there, and it needs to be corrected. And I have just, since we required it, I have no problem. I mean, you voted to require it.
Chairman Martin. I voted for what was on there, and they agreed to it. They did not have to agree to it. We just asked for I was not the one that suggested it, but I went along with it. But it didn't talk about it being on our property, on theirs, and development people knows good and well that these main sewer lines like that has easement, and building is not allowed on it. And it's just not the right thing for the county to do, period, and that's it. I'm gonna call for the question and see where it goes, and then I'll go from there.
All right.
Well, I truly believe if this is not approved, then they'll stop construction because, I would want them to stop construction because if there's not a retaining wall there, I'm not going to put people on Tanglewood Golf Course having to be careful about where they send the balls. I mean, nobody's going to want to live in a development that's on a golf course that close to them and sit outside and take be afraid they're going to be hit by a golf ball. They're not going to let their children out there. They're not going to go out there. If we don't have the retaining wall, then I'm sorry I voted for the development because that's what made me agree to the development was the retaining wall.
I was not aware it was a condition of approval, so I appreciate that information. Just one last question. You've indicated actual construction has not yet begun?
Of the wall?
On the wall.
I understand that. That's correct, right? No wall construction.
Okay.
Correct.
Just grading in the whole subdivision.
All right.
Correct.
I would just like to put on the record that I truly understand the concern of where Vice Chair Wisenhunt about the safety of when you're out there playing golf, and God knows the most I do out there is drive the cart. But I have seen somebody take a swing at that ball, and that ball goes like a bullet. And if something was, that would be my concern, that there's no physical partition between where they're playing golf and the development of homes. I get that, do we want to have a development team use our property because then, are they going to take care of it? We have to take care of whatever that, conflict could be. But I think the safety of those families that may have already started to at least indirectly invest in, we plan to move there because this new development is coming. I think especially, and I wasn't here, of course, when the vote was taken earlier, but I think that in all fairness to the development team, who obviously have already invested in the development of that neighborhood, anticipates a neighborhood that is safe. And I guess that is my concern, that if that wall or something isn't there to make sure the residents are safe, then I think that that's problematic, to say the least.
I'm not suggesting that the wall not be there. The condition says for it to be there, and it don't say for it to be on the county property. I will offer to do this, Mr. Chairman. If it would, the board would be more comfortable, I would move to continue this and look at it further and make sure that all of the Ts and the Is is dotted and crossed. I thought they were, but apparently not. I'd be willing to do that, but if the board don't want to do that, I'm going to stick with my original motion.
I'll second your motion to continue. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll return to it in 2 weeks.
Okay. Agenda items 28 through 30 are our reports. 28 is the ARPA disbursement status report, 29 is the March financial report, and 30 is the March contribution-based benefit cap report.
Could I call for a break?
Right, let's go ahead and act on this. Do we have a motion on reports?
Yes.
Move to receive the reports.
I did have some questions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a motion to reports. I'll be happy to second it. Commissioner Linville makes a motion. I'll second it. Questions?
Yes, actually, I had several questions with regard to the finance report for March. I've had most of them answered. In the interest of time, I'll postpone any further discussion of that.
All righty. Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting reports, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Now we'll take us a 10-minute break and return for the discussion item of the budget presentation.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, if my tone got
amended budget. This is a responsibility I approach with great care and seriousness. The budget was developed in full compliance with the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. I want to begin by grounding the recommended budget in what matters most, your priorities for Forsyth County. At the work session last year and reaffirmed at your retreat in March, you identified 6 key priority areas that continue to guide our work: public safety, human services, education, economic development, operations, and active and vibrant living. Throughout this budget development process, staff worked intentionally to ensure recommendations align with these priorities while balancing fiscal realities and operational demands. While this has been a challenging budget year, we remained focused on directing limited resources toward the services, programs, and investments that best reflect your strategic goals and community needs. At the center of all of these priorities are the people who deliver these services every single day. This slide represents Team Forsyth, who make our county work. From public safety personnel to park staff, health and human services, administrative teams, and many others, our employees are the backbone of service delivery in this community. Every service residents rely on begins with the people who provide it. As we discuss this recommended budget today, I want to emphasize that behind every budget line item are real services that impact real people across Forsyth County. The budget was built to support both the services residents depend on and the workforce that makes those services possible. With that foundation in mind, I'd like to walk you through how this budget was developed. Developing the county's annual budget is always a significant undertaking, and this year presented unique challenges due to limited revenue growth and rising operational cost. As required by North Carolina law, we must adopt a balanced budget each year, so our focus was on building a realistic and sustainable financial plan. Departments were asked to prioritize essential operations, identify efficiencies, and realign existing resources before requesting any new funding. At the same time, we had to account for rising costs, including inflation, utilities, fuel, healthcare, retirement, jail medical and food costs, and state cost shifts. Every recommendation was evaluated through the lens of long-term sustainability, maintaining service levels, and alignment with your priorities. Now let's take a look at the county's revenue picture. This chart provides a high-level overview of the county's primary revenue sources that fund general operations. As you can see, property taxes remain the county's largest revenue source, followed by local sales taxes and intergovernmental revenues. These 3 sources fund many of the essential services residents rely on every day. While the chart shows the composition of our revenues, the more significant issue this year is that growth within several of these major revenue sources has slowed or declined. And that brings us to some of the revenue challenges we faced in developing this year's budget. The county's property tax base is projected to grow by only 1%, generating just $3.4 million in new revenue at the current tax rate. One contributing factor is a 2.05% decline in business personal property values, which historically has been a stronger area of growth. Sales tax revenues are also trending below budget for the 3rd consecutive year, so we made the decision to reduce projections to better align with current collections. And intergovernmental revenue is also declining due to reductions in federal and state funding, along with more realistic grant and reimbursement projections. That revenue reality ultimately led to the recommendation, which I'll discuss on the next slide. The county's base revenue forecast, again, generated only $3.4 million in new recurring revenue, which is not sufficient to maintain current service levels. After evaluating expenditures, identifying efficiencies, and prioritizing critical needs, the fiscal year 27 recommended budget totals $598.9 million. To support this recommended budget, I am recommending a 1.68 cent property tax increase, bringing the total tax rate to 55.2 cents. This increase is projected to generate approximately $11 million in additional recurring revenue.
It's important to note that this recommendation is not driven by new programs or major service expansions. It is primarily focused on maintaining current service levels and addressing rising operational costs. The recommendation allows the county to remain financially stable while continuing to provide the essential services residents depend on every day. To help put the recommendation into perspective, let's take a look at what this means for an average homeowner. I recognize that any discussion of a tax increase is significant, and it's important to clearly communicate what this means for residents. For the median home value in Forsyth County, which is $269,700, the recommended 1.68 cent tax increase would result in an annual increase of approximately $45.31, which equates to roughly $3.78 per month. I don't want to minimize the impact of this because we are aware of the significant values in tax bills from last year due to the values. This recommendation was made only after significant efforts to right-size departmental budgets, identify efficiencies, and limit new spending requests. The additional revenue generated helps maintain current service levels, support critical investments, and address rising operational costs in a very challenging revenue environment. For the median home value in District A, which is $172,300, the recommended 1.68 cent tax increase would result in an annual increase of approximately $28.95, which equates to roughly $2.41 per month for the average homeowner. Now let's take a look at how the resources are allocated across the organization. The fiscal year 27 recommended budget, which totals $598.9 million, represents a modest 1.3% increase over fiscal year 26. Education remains the county's largest expenditure category, reflecting our continued commitment to public education. Public safety is the second largest category and includes investments in the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, emergency medical services, 911 operations, fire services. Health and Human Services represents the third largest expenditure area and supports critical programs that serve some of our most vulnerable residents through social services, public health, behavioral health services. And debt service is another significant expenditure category and reflects the county's long-term investments in schools, facilities, and infrastructure. The largest portion of our debt is for Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools. Approximately $323 million, or 54% of the budget, supports overall county operations. Of that amount, approximately 69% supports salary-related expenses, which reflects the workforce required to deliver county services. Approximately $84.9 million supports debt service obligations, with roughly 71% tied to education-related debt. And the county provides approximately $191 million in direct appropriations to Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools and Forsyth Tech Community College. This slide highlights the three largest departmental increases included in the recommended budget. First, the Sheriff's Office is increasing by $5.8 million, driven primarily by personnel costs and higher detention center medical expenses related to increased inmate population. It is important to note that separate capital funding is being recommended through the county's capital improvement plan for the Sheriff's Office for ballistic vest and firearm replacements, as well as some capital improvements to the detention center and public safety center. General Services is increasing by $3.8 million, largely due to operating costs associated with the consolidation of utilities from other departments, along with personnel costs. And those increases were partially offset through reductions across other county departments. And Social Services is increasing by $2.8 million, primarily due to personnel cost, state cost shifts related to SNAP administration, and increased special assistance program. The department also worked to realign operating expenses to help minimize the overall impact. Again, these increases are primarily driven by operational demands, mandated services, and rising cost, not the addition of new programs. Departments submitted during the budget process approximately $17.2 million in enhancement requests for new positions, equipment, program expansions, and operational needs. To put that into perspective, fully funding all requests would have required an additional 2.6 cent property tax increase. Given our current revenue environment, it simply was not feasible or responsible to recommend funding every request. As a result, only $1.2 million in enhancements are being recommended in the budget. Priority was given to requests that address critical operational needs, employee safety concerns, and opportunities where costs could be offset through additional revenues. Recommendations include firefighter positions that's being paid by the Overlay Fire Tax District, a deputy position for Clemens that is being funded by Clemens, additional detention center operational needs, and a technology upgrade for social services that have no net county cost impact due to being reimbursed 50% by the state and the elimination of a position. And just for the DSS position, the DSS request, to put into perspective, they are manually printing, folding, and stuffing up to 8,700 documents per month, and the compliance requirement is to send client notices and verifications mailed within 24 hours. And so this will increase compliance as well as efficiency at zero cost to the county. While there were many other worthy requests, I did make a deliberate decision to remain focused on sustainability and core operational needs. Public education continues to be the county's largest investment and remains a top priority for this board. The recommended budget includes approximately $177.7 million in funding for the schools. Last year, the board agreed on a revised funding formula tied to property tax growth to create a more predictable and sustainable funding model for Winston-Salem-Forsyth County schools. The fiscal year 27 recommended budget continues that approach and includes a $1.78 million increase, which represent a 1% increase over the prior year. The recommended allocation also removes approximately $4.9 million related to the school resource officers and exceptional children nurses, eliminating a pass-through funding process, but we will continue to provide these county-funded services. Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools submitted an additional $33.5 million funding request, which would require a 5.1-cent tax increase, and it is not included in my manager's recommended budget.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, ma'am. The school system submitted an additional $33.5 million funding request, which would require a 5.1-cent tax increase. Superintendent Phipps will formally present.
While you stop, could I ask you one, on the removing the 4.9 million on school resource officers and exceptional children nurses, et cetera, that was in their budget last year?
It was in their budget last year. And so essentially, their total.
I know we're paying it directly, so with their 1.78, they're actually realizing the benefit of more dollars.
That is correct. That's why I tried to separate it to make sure that it is clear. It's just that we're not putting it in their budget anymore. That is correct. Superintendent Phipps will be here next week at the May 14th meeting to formally present the school's recommended budget. At the same time, it is important to acknowledge a trend that continues to impact long-term education funding decisions. Student enrollment at Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools continues to decline. The school system is projected to lose approximately 1,551 additional students in fiscal year 27.
Can I ask a question real quick? So in that, in my mind, I'm realizing that we have appropriated more budget for the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools, even though they have a decline of enrollment of students, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, ma'am. So despite these enrollment declines, the county has not reduced its financial support to the school system. Even during a year of constrained revenues, the recommended budget continues to prioritize educational outcomes and funding stability. For fiscal year 27, the amount increased by $151 per pupil for a total of $4,498 per pupil. I also think it's important to provide additional context around the county's investment in public education. Of the total funding the county provides to Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools, approximately 55% is required by state statute. That means approximately 45% represents additional local investment that is not mandated by law. This reflects the board's longstanding commitment to supporting public education beyond our minimum legal requirements. It is important for the public to understand that the county's investment in education extends well beyond what we are required to provide. And I think that context is important as we continue conversations around school funding. Now, switching gears to Team Forsyth.
If I may, before you leave the education topic, do you know approximately how much in ESSER dollars came to a halt last year on an annual basis?
I do not, but I can certainly make sure the superintendent is prepared to answer those questions, or we can follow up.
Yeah, it actually, the ESSER phased out, though, on September 30th.
Yes, I mean, that was.
So it was a very small amount of FY +26. It was a large amount in FY '25.
And to clarify, I'm thinking about what it was from the last full year of funding.
We can get that.
FY
for you.
'25.
Thank you.
And again, we will go through details on all these items next Thursday. So before we talk about benefits and compensation, I do want to pause and recognize the people behind the services we provide every day. These employees represent the individuals who keep county government running, again, from public safety and health and human services to parks, libraries, administration, and many other essential functions. Every service residents rely on begins with people who show up each day committed to serving this community. The budget reflects our continued commitment to supporting the workforce that makes all of this possible. Our employees are essential to delivering the services residents rely on every day, and investing in our workforce remains a priority. Retirement costs are projected to increase by $2.1 million. Health insurance costs are projected to increase by $2.3 million. And to help manage rising healthcare costs, as we discussed earlier today, we are proposing additional plan options for employees and a change to the GLP-1 coverage for weight loss that is projected to save approximately $4 million and minimize premium increases that would otherwise be significantly higher for employees. Despite these pressures, the recommended budget continues to fund performance-based salary increases of up to 5%, with an average increase budgeted of approximately 3.63%. While this is a reduction from the previous year, it is still highly competitive with our peers and shows our continued commitment to supporting employees while maintaining fiscal responsibility. In addition to investing in our internal workforce, this budget also continues important investments that directly support residents and community partners. These investments help extend services beyond county government by partnering with organizations and initiatives that address critical community needs. This includes behavioral health services, opioid response efforts, youth services, senior support programs, and nonprofit partnerships that strengthen our community. For behavioral health funds, which you approved today, it's allocated to expand access to mental health, substance use, and intellectual and developmental disability services. 20 projects have been recommended for funding, totaling $2,262,000. Opioid settlement funds are designated to support prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts. Forsyth County will receive approximately $37 million over an 18-year period. And this year, we're recommending 34 projects, funding totaling $4,672,810. For Juvenile Crime Prevention Council funds, which are reserved to support programs and services focused on reducing and preventing juvenile crime, the council is still in the process of finalizing its project recommendations. A budget reserve of $940,842 has been established to support these efforts, and that will come to you in the coming weeks from the council. In home and community care block grant funds, which improve service delivery for the growing population of older adults ages 60 and up, the full FY26 allocation for Forsyth County was $2,182,780. We are awaiting the fiscal year 27 allocation. And just a reminder, this is administered by Piedmont Triad Regional Council on our behalf. Unlike the previous community investments on the previous slides, which are supported through restricted funding sources such as opioid settlement funds, behavioral health funds, JCPC funds, community grants are funded through discretionary local dollars. These grants represent approximately 0.28 cents of the proposed property tax rate and are included in the recommended budget. This year, we received 117 applications requesting approximately $10.1 million, and there were many worthy requests. Given limited available funding, this was a very challenging process, and staff worked carefully to develop recommendations that aligned with board priorities and funding availability. Several applications also did not meet required compliance standards and were not recommended for funding. The recommended budget includes funding for 37 projects totaling approximately $1.8 million. We do understand the board may have different perspectives on these recommendations and certainly respect any changes you may have. We'll provide you with the detailed application information and discuss this in greater detail during next week's detailed budget presentation. In addition to investing in people and community partnerships, the recommended budget also begins addressing another major board priority, which are our capital infrastructure needs. Addressing immediate capital needs was identified as a major priority during the board retreat. The county's 6-year capital improvement plan outlines significant facility, infrastructure, and public safety needs across the organization. Fully funding the entire 6-year plan would require approximately a 1-cent property tax increase, excluding any future additional school bond needs. Based on feedback from the board, the recommended budget does not include an additional tax increase for capital funding at this time. Instead, we're utilizing approximately 0.4 cents of available tax capacity from maturing debt to begin addressing these critical needs. To accelerate progress, we're also proposing to finance certain projects through limited obligation bonds or similar funding methods. This allows us to begin making progress while minimizing the immediate impact on taxpayers. And I do just want to make sure and call out that the project savings on this slide is coming from the courthouse project, and I know there's going to be discussions about that, but this allows us to address county capital needs that we are statutorily required to do. And these are some examples: detention center HVAC replacement, detention center plumbing control upgrades, public safety center chiller replacement, ballistic vest for our sheriff's office and emergency services that have expired, firearm replacements for the sheriff's office that are expiring, fire station generator replacement, facility repairs and maintenance across county buildings. While this is an important first step, it does not fully address the county's long-term capital needs. Additional funding strategies will need to be evaluated as part of future budget discussions. Another area where the board asked us to address longstanding structural issues is fire services funding. In addition to the general property tax rate, the board must also set fire tax district rates, which are maintained in a separate fund. Strengthening emergency services delivery and addressing fire service equity was identified as board priority goals and even identified as a board-directed initiative. Specifically, the board asked staff to develop a more equitable funding model across fire districts while maintaining service delivery. Last year, the county made progress through a 1.4 cent tax increase that expanded fire suppression coverage. The board also directed staff to establish a fire commission and evaluate long-term system improvements. And that work led to several recommendations that begin implementation in this proposed budget. One of the consultant's major recommendations was creating a more equitable fire funding model. The current district-by-district model has created funding disparities across the county. Under the recommended budget, individual fire district tax rates would be zeroed out and moved to the countywide fire overlay tax model. The proposed fire overlay rate is 9.51 cents. 8.73 cents supports ongoing fire suppression and prevention services, and 0.78 cents funds a multi-year capital improvement plan. While that appears to be a significant increase, it must be viewed alongside the zeroing out of individual district tax rates. As a result, residents in 10 of 25 districts would actually see an overall tax decrease. And without this model, only 5 districts would see a decrease, and 7 would have a smaller increase than they otherwise would have. And so this creates a more equitable and consistent funding model across the county. 0.78 cents begins funding a long-term capital improvement plan for fire. These funds will help replace aging fire equipment and address system-wide capital needs. It begins implementing the consultant's recommendation for a more sustainable long-term funding strategy. The Fire Commission will continue evaluating additional consultant recommendations over the coming years. This is part of a broader multi-year effort to modernize the county's fire system and strengthen emergency response services. This recommendation represents, meaningful progress toward addressing long-standing structural challenges. And in addition to these investments, we also remained focused on strengthening the county's long-term financial position. Strengthening the county's fund balance was identified as a top priority for the board, and it's critical to our long-term financial stability. For the second consecutive year, this recommended budget does not use fund balance to support recurring operating expenses. The only planned use of fund balance is for one-time debt obligations totaling approximately $9.6 million, which supports a structurally balanced approach. Forsyth County has maintained a AAA bond rating for nearly 30 years, and preserving the rating remains a key objective. Our bond rating agencies, including Moody's and S&P Global Ratings, have emphasized the importance of continuing to strengthen our fund balance. In addition to limiting usage, we're recommending that proceeds from the sale of county-owned property be directed to fund balance to help rebuild the reserves. These actions reflect a disciplined approach to ensuring long-term financial stability and maintaining flexibility for future needs. So I opened the presentation by discussing the board's priority areas, and I wanted to close this portion by showing how this recommended budget aligns resources with those priorities. As you can see, significant investments continue in public safety, human services, and education, reflecting both the county's core service responsibilities and the board's stated priorities. The budget also continues to support economic development, operations, and active and vibrant living initiatives that contribute to overall quality of life in our community. While this has been a challenging budget year, we worked intentionally to ensure that limited resources were directed toward the areas that matter most to the board and the residents we serve. At the same time, it is important to acknowledge the external revenue risk that could impact our ability to sustain these investments in the future. While the recommended budget addresses current conditions, there are several external factors that could impact the county's financial outlook in the coming years. At the state and federal level, we're closely monitoring potential additional cost shifts related to programs like SNAP and Medicaid, which could increase local financial responsibility. We're also monitoring proposed policy changes, including the potential repeal of the 2% local sales tax on groceries, which could reduce county revenues by approximately $23 million annually. In addition, broader legislative discussions could impact property tax revenues, which remain the county's largest and most stable funding source. While the timing and outcome of these items remain uncertain, they represent potential risk that could significantly impact the county's ability to maintain current service levels. As a result, this budget reflects a cautious and measured approach with an emphasis on maintaining flexibility, strengthening our financial position, and ensuring we are able to provide the services our residents rely on. The recommended budget takes meaningful steps to address immediate needs while maintaining a strong focus on long-term financial stability. It begins to reintroduce funding for the county's capital improvement plan, allowing us to make progress on critical infrastructure needs in a measured and responsible way. At the same time, the budget continues efforts to strengthen fund balance and preserve the county's AAA bond rating, ensuring we remain well-positioned financially. While the budget reflects important progress, we recognize that additional work remains. Future discussions will need to focus on long-term capital funding strategies, addressing the full scope of identified needs, and continuing to evaluate revenue sustainability and service demands. Overall, the budget reflects a balanced and forward-looking approach, one that builds stability today while preparing Forsyth County for the challenges and opportunities ahead. The FY27 recommended budget will be available for the public to review. Residents can access the full document online through the county's website. Give us a few minutes after this presentation. And printed copies will also be at all local library branches. We do encourage the community to review the budget and stay engaged throughout the process. I have made my best professional recommendation, and now the budget is the board's. You have the binders. The board will have the opportunity to review the recommended budget in greater detail during the upcoming budget workshops. A detailed budget presentation is scheduled for next week, May 14th. And as I mentioned, the schools and Forsyth Tech will also be presenting at that time. A public hearing is scheduled for May 19th, and I'll reiterate that because we changed it yesterday to ensure we did not conflict with the city's public hearing, which we were not aware of. The public hearing will be May 19th at 6 p.m., providing an opportunity for residents and stakeholders to share input, and the board is scheduled to consider final adoption on June 4th. I look forward to working with you throughout the process, appreciate your continued guidance and support. And finally, I do want to say developing the county's budget is always a significant undertaking, and this year has presented unique challenges. Despite these complexities, staff across the organization have worked collaboratively and diligently to develop thoughtful, balanced, and sustainable recommendations. I do want to extend my sincere appreciation to Budget Director Kyle Wolf, Deputy Budget Director Kim Bussey, Budget Analyst Casey Ream, Aisha Carter, Will Fulbright, and Andrea Sheets for their exceptional efforts throughout the process. I also want to recognize Deputy County Managers Kyle Haney and Denise Price, our CFO Terry Goodman, Deputy CFO Lee Plunkett, Consultant Jonna Sharp for their leadership and partnership. And I want to thank our department directors and staff for their engagement, responsiveness, and commitment to identifying solutions that align with operational needs and fiscal realities. I want to acknowledge the dedication and leadership of Sheriff Kimbrough and Register of Deeds Johnson. And finally, I would like to thank you, the board, for your guidance, direction, and continued commitment to the residents of Forsyth County. Your priorities have been instrumental in shaping this recommended budget. The budget reflects meaningful investments across each of the board's priority goal areas, ensuring that resources are aligned with the services, programs, and initiatives that matter most to our community. So again, I thank you. I look forward to further conversations as we continue through this process.
One quick question, if I may. In your handout, there's a reference to the Next Steps meeting dates. Is there any reference in the online budget to those dates?
We are going to put this presentation as well as the budget message, and we have starting to blast social media with all the dates. It's also been in the newspaper in other areas.
Just so that people don't get confused if they go to read the presentation today, can you change this page, update it in what you post online?
So what is posted online has May 19th. We printed your packets prior to that, but online and everything else says May 19th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I only have two comments for Dr. Phelps, if you might relay when he comes to present. I need to know what the school board's fund balance is. I couldn't find it in the literature. And I also needed to know what the rationale was for the above funding formula relative to the General Assembly pay increase for $6 million.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
Those are
you.
my questions. Thank you.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us. Thank you for your, and all the staff that you recognize for your hard work on this. It's a mammoth undertaking, and this has been a challenging year. Obviously, there's a lot to digest and some questions to ask, and I feel confident that next Thursday will be a lively meeting. So we'll all look forward to that.
Thank you. That's it.
Good.
Thank you.
We stand adjourned.